My grandma used to say, if you truly love your bike, you'll take good care of it. And I think that makes it quite clear what today's video is about, which is the push assist. And with that, a warm hello to all rebikers to this new video where we'll talk about the push assist. And I kind of feel that the push assist feature isn't exactly the subject we e-bikers are eager or enthusiastic to discuss or talk about in detail. Naturally, we don't buy an e-bike just to end up pushing it around. It's quite the opposite intention. Who truly loves their bike will walk it. Not for us though. For us, it's whoever honors their bike will actually ride it. Because with the powerful motor assistance, we gain completely new opportunities to fully express ourselves as passionate e-bikers. And yet, I believe we all realize that, even though the marketing promises of e-bike manufacturers may seem grandiose and impressive, there are absolute limits to what this bike and its powerful engines can achieve. And so, we've all undoubtedly encountered situations where we've reached points with seemingly no way to move forward any further, even with motor assistance. And then there's only one thing that helps, and that's the push assist. How to activate the walk assist feature on an e-bike, where to find it, and what tips and tricks to keep in mind while pushing the e-bike, that's what I want to discuss with you in this video. Let's dive into the technology, and I'd like to start by saying that the legislator has introduced a regulation here to prevent the push assist from being misused as a throttle, because I think everyone who has used the walking assistance knows that when you press the walking assist, the motor starts to support, no matter if we are actually sitting on the bike and pedaling. And some push assists are powerful enough that we can activate the push assist and then comfortably get pushed along while we sit on the bike ourselves. And to ensure that it isn't misused as a motor throttle, the law clearly specifies that pushing assistance is permitted, but strictly only up to a maximum speed of 6 km/h. That's the rule. But it's also worth mentioning that 6 km/h is just way too fast for pushing anyway. Because precisely where you need the push assist, like in challenging terrain or, for example, on stairs, we don't just walk alongside the bike at 6 km/h. That's why, for example, Shimano says they limit the push assist to 4 km/h, and the bike with active push assist consistently travels at 4 km/h. The cool aspect here with Shimano is that these 4 km/h are consistently maintained, regardless of the gear you find yourself in. The chain is located because the engine detects how much torque is needed to achieve 4 km/h according to the gear. And then the motor delivers either accordingly much or accordingly little torque. Where do we find the walk assistance? Let's start with the Shimano system, in this case the EP8 system. Afterwards, I'll also show you where you can find the walk assistance on the Bosch Performance Line CX motor in the new Smart system. At Shimano, walk assist is integrated into the modes. You can choose from 3 assist modes using the handlebar remote, ensuring easy access and greatly enhancing your overall riding experience with seamless control and added convenience. You're already familiar with them: Eco, Trail and Boost modes, plus the off mode, which essentially means you have no motor support when riding. So, we select these modes on the controller using the plus and minus buttons. And now the nice thing about Shimano is, no matter which of the 3 modes you're in, Eco, Trail or Boost, simply holding down the minus button will automatically engage the walk mode, which is incredibly helpful for navigating difficult terrains or steep hills. Honestly speaking, I find that to be quite clever. It's funny because we typically stop precisely at those challenging spots where we've tried our utmost to exploit every bit of the engine's power, pushing its capabilities to the fullest. So basically, when I'm on an alpine hiking trail or a single trail, I'm likely already in boost mode long before the path physically stops me, and there's no possible way to continue anymore. And then I'm able to effortlessly switch directly from boost mode to walk mode by simply pressing the minus button, ensuring a smooth and seamless transition. And as soon as the display right in front of me indicates walk, I am then able to hold down the minus button. And as long as I'm keeping it continuously held down, the motor then propels the wheel beside me forward at a speed of 4 km/h. Handy feature. I'll demonstrate this for you right now. So at the moment, I'm in the boost mode. Now I'm holding down the minus button for a long time. it shows go, and I'm able to activate the slide mode here now. To provide a brief summary, with the Shimano EP8 system, you are able to seamlessly switch into walk mode from any existing mode by holding down the minus button until the display specifically shows walk. Once you're engaged in walking mode, also called the pushing mode, you can continue to hold down the minus button, enabling your bike to start moving on its own forward. Then I'd like to show you the whole process in the Bosch system too. So, when I have the feeling that Bosch has put a lot of thought into how the walk assist feature in the new CX motor of the smart system is especially useful for e-mountain bikers. So it's quickly available to us when we're off-road. So in the newly designed system, here's how it works. You hold the minus button firmly, and while still pressing the minus button, you just need to briefly push the bike backwards. This automatically lets the system recognize that you want to enter sliding mode so that you is not actively engaged in driving himself right at that moment, so the system seamlessly switches to the sliding mode. It then begins its smooth forward motion by pushing ahead gracefully. So as I mentioned earlier, you need to press and hold down the minus button. Once you've done that, you give the wheel a slight push backward for just a brief moment, and only then will you be able to activate and fully utilize the push aid functionality. It's a smart feature, showcasing Bosch's ingenious design. Now let's take a minute to review some top tips and tricks I recommend for safely pushing your e-bike. To begin with, the most important thing is adjusting the remote controller settings, meaning the motor remote located here at the front of the handlebars. As I have already mentioned earlier, all push aids share one essential feature. In order to activate the push aid properly, users must hold down a specific button continuously without interruption. And this results in the situation that, depending on the position, the remote controller mounted right here at the front of the handlebar, it can become quite uncomfortable rather quickly. I have discovered for myself that the deeper the control unit is positioned, meaning the lower the button I need to hold down is located, the more comfortable the entire setup becomes. Especially when I'm pushing the bike uphill in particularly steep terrain, it's really comfortable if I'm able to press the button from behind using my thumb, offering a better grip. That's why I always set the remote controller in a somewhat horizontal position, allowing me to comfortably press the button from the back with my thumb, ensuring an easier handling. Beware. The controller shouldn't be set too low because, especially with e-mountain bikes, which nowadays all come with a dropper post, meaning an adjustable seat post, you typically have the remote controller for the dropper post conveniently located on the left-hand side at the front part of the handlebars. And it would be really quite silly if the two control units here somehow ended up getting in each other's way or interfering. So be sure to leave a little bit of space here, which ensures that you have easy and comfortable access to both the remote control for your dropper post and also the button that's necessary to activate the walk assist feature. What else should you take into account? You're often traversing through somewhat rough terrain, even if it's simply a steep staircase. And in that situation, you kind of want to have the ability to vigorously push the bike forward from behind yourself, or at least maintain a certain level of control to steer it effectively. That's why I always recommend lowering the seat down, and I personally prefer going with my elbow resting on the seat. It can also add pressure to the rear wheel, as such a pushing aid can push with a lot of force, causing the rear wheel to spin out pretty easily and quickly, especially when you're not paying close attention. To avoid that, you really need to have pressure on the rear wheel. I can achieve that most effectively in this particular body position. Can even comfortably lean on the bike here. Now I activate my push assistance and can maneuver the bike quite comfortably through rough terrain. Depending on the kind of terrain you're navigating, you can easily and comfortably adjust the seat height to your preference, all thanks to the convenience of the dropper post. You can either support it with your hand back here to apply pressure effectively on the rear wheel, or, as was just demonstrated, use your elbow. And so the bike can be really easy to push. If you're out in alpine terrain, like when you have to push the bike on single trails, there's one important basic rule. The bike is situated on the side opposite to the slope, while you make your way along the side that directly faces the hill. Essentially, the bike is oriented towards the direction where the trail descends downward towards the ground. Because if you ever trip or happen to slip somehow, it's really important that the bike be the one to fly downhill, definitely not you. So when you move towards the hillside, you can just let yourself fall against the slope. and in the worst case scenario, give the bike a shove down the hill, essentially pushing yourself away from the bike. I truly hope that won't happen because I fully understand just how valuable this little treasure is to us, and we'll most likely all instinctively cling quite tightly to the wheel in the beginning. However, still make sure to always position yourself on the hillside and push the bike towards the side away from the hill, which means to the side where it actually slopes downhill. By keeping these rules in mind, you'll be able to handle even the most demanding trails with your e-bike in a really smooth and efficient manner. As I said, find the suitable position for your saddle, support yourself comfortably here, apply pressure to the rear wheel to prevent it from slipping, then activate the push assist and glide smoothly through the terrain. Until the next time, farewell, ciao. This is Maxi from Rebike. If e-bike, then rebike.